If you're like me, you probably carry a knife on you most of the time. I always have this in my pocket because knives are super handy for opening boxes, scraping up glue, tons of stuff around the shop. But a few years ago, I had a thought. These aren't really designed for woodworkers, makers, anybody that spends any amount of time in a wood shop. So I made my own, the Bourbon blade. It's specifically designed for you, the maker, because it's not really a knife. It's a folding chisel that you can also use all the ways that you would use a knife. But more importantly, it's a chisel. Now, you might think this would be something that'd be really quick to design, but this actually took 2 years to develop because we wanted to get it right. So, without any further ado, here is the story of the Bourbon blade. The design process started out pretty simply. I was in my shop and I was thinking it would be awesome to take this that's always on my person, but replace this blade with a chisel blade. So, knowing nothing, I got to work. I quickly realized I was in over my head. I'd never developed a product before, and at that point, I was still wanting this for my own personal use. I wasn't even thinking about making something that we could sell and get in the hands of you watching this video. So I started scratching my head. I needed somebody who, number one, knew a lot about knives, and number two, had some sort of concept of what it takes to develop a product.
So I went to my friend, the one, the only, Jonathan KAtz-Moses.
Jonathan definitely knows a lot about knives. It's actually to the point where it gets a little annoying.
You got your spring-assisted knives, those are really cool. You know, ProTech, they're kind of newer on the scene. Of course, you have one of these, a Benchmade CLA. It's got the Heretic Cleric too. This is real tough to get. Spyderco, one of my favorites. Spyderco does not make a lot of automatic knives. Kershaw Launch Series, a lot of fun.
Jonathan was already handling all of our distribution for our merchandise, and he had an entire warehouse where they design and develop their own line of tools. So when it came to the product development side of things, I knew he was the guy. Now, this is where I really got an education in product development because I had no clue how long this was going to take. And Jonathan slowly started to help me realize that this is something that we didn't just need to make one of so I could use it in my shop, but this is something that we could mass produce and make a quality product that would be available to you guys. But I call this the doldrum period because there was a lot of prototyping and development and coming up with things like this floppy piece of metal, which was one of our first prototypes. When he sent me this one, I got kind of disappointed because this is nowhere near what I was hoping it would be. But Jonathan said, don't worry, this is a long process. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. And it was after this that we realized we needed to bring on somebody else. We needed to find an expert knife maker. So we went to Denmark. Who knew that Denmark was known for their knife makers? Well, at least they're known for one very prominent knife maker, and that's Mikkel Wilhelmsen.
My name is Mikkel.
Mikkel is a character. He's very Danish. He's an insanely good knife maker. Check out some of these knives he's made on his Instagram page.
Oh, wow. Ooh, ah.
We looked at a lot of different knife makers, but when we found Mikkel, we knew he was the guy to take our initial vision, design concept, and really take it over the finish line to the next level. And I'm pretty happy with what we came up with. I could get into all the nitty gritty details about why we picked the steel we chose and the G10 handles and the clip and all of that, but I'd rather not do it alone. So let's fly down to Santa Barbara and talk with KAtz. Dude, we are here. We made it.
2-year journey to get to this point.
First of all, I want to give Jonathan a huge shout out and a big thank you. I could not have done this without this guy right here. I mean, when I brought this idea to you, it was just that an idea. And I think I even said, I don't even need to be the one to do it. I just wish there was this product out there because I would use it every single day. And you were the genius that was like, hey, if it's not out there, let's put it out there.
And you know me, I'm obsessed with knives and tools in general.
He is obsessed.
As you can see. But we were entering a world of knife enthusiasts who have a whole different set of things that they want and guidelines. And we needed to be like real cognizant of the EDC world and what's important to people who carry knives every day.
It's one thing to just slap something together and throw a product out there, but if we're gonna do it, I wanted to do it right, and I wanted to make sure that not only did we put out the first chisel knife specifically designed for woodworkers, but that it was the best product that we could put out.
Absolutely. That was from day one, we said it has to be the best. And so I think that speaks to the features we ended up coming up with. The first of which is we have a left and right-handed version. When we got them, it was like very obvious that there are some safety concerns with anything that's sharp, right?
Yeah, so this is the right-handed version.
Yep.
You flip it out. Of course, when you flip out a knife, the blade's facing towards you, but with a chisel, bevel side's gonna be up. So as you rotate it in your hand, you can cut away from yourself, which is super important for safety. And you want that flat back on the bottom, which is the way it works out. But for left-handed, obviously it doesn't work that way. So then you have the left-handed version. How do people do this? A lot of knives, they'll have like a thumb stud on them right here that allows you to flip it out.
Right.
We couldn't do that on a chisel knife because you want that perfectly flat back and you want to make it super easy to sharpen, which is why we have the flip out on the back here.
Yep.
That then becomes on the front. So nothing encumbers the ability to get that on a sharpening stone. Plus, it just works better to use it as a chisel because you can get it nice and flat.
And that brings up 2 great points, which is the steel we chose. This is Sandvik 14C28N steel. It is a stainless steel. In fact, in my video, you'll see we did a really cool test where we soaked it in salt for over a month. It doesn't rust. So a knife that you're going to beat the bejesus out of, to real hard not to swear there.
There's children watching.
Right? Jason and I took it to a certain point. We said, okay, we know all the things it has to have. It has to be indestructible, has to be easy to sharpen, it has to be long lasting, all those things. But then we wanted to find somebody who fit your style. And we found like this Dutch guy who is maybe the funniest guy I've ever met.
My name is Miguel.
The one thing that I really dislike in most knives is when they have the liner lock.
Oh, yeah.
The reason I don't like the liner lock is in order to close the knife, you have to have your finger in the way, push the lock to the side, and then close the blade on your finger. Which when you're doing stuff quick in the shop and you're just trying to get stuff done and you do that movement fast, it's a safety issue.
Well, and a cursory Google search on knife locks will tell you a liner lock is old technology. Nobody uses that in a good knife anymore.
Yeah.
Liner locks are just a small piece of spring steel that's wedged up against the blade. When I say wedged, the blade has an angle to it and it just barely covers it. In fact, you look at this one, only half the lock is even touching the blade.
Well, and one of the things I said we have to have if we're gonna create this chisel knife is I want to be able to use it like a chisel.
Yes.
Meaning I want to be able to open it up, and if I want to tap the end with a mallet or a hammer, I want to do that and know it is not going to close when you're doing that.
Right, and I'm going to go into really deep detail in my video about locks, but it's really important to remember that if you are hitting something with a liner lock, you are making a mistake, because the worst injury I've ever had in woodworking was I was trying to take the knot out of a 4x4 with a buck knife, and it just folded right on my finger. It chopped right through the bone, cut the tip of my finger off.
I did the exact same thing. I was trying to pry something, and I had the knife in there, and that twisting motion disengaged the liner lock, and it shut on my finger, and I got blood all over the piece I was working on.
Don't ever buy a knife with a liner lock, that is for sure.
Another thing I love about our knife, and this is something I'll admit I didn't love at the beginning, was our clip choice.
Yes.
Because I am used to a full metal clip like this one, and I just kind of thought they looked a little nicer. Mikkel was the one that really brought our attention to why this is the best clip on the market. It's the strongest clip available, because we've all probably had this happen where you have a clip like this, and the problem with these is they loosen up over time. And so as they get loose, they don't sit in your pocket right. And I've lost so many knives because I'm working somewhere and that clip gets caught and the knife gets pulled out of my pocket and then it's gone forever.
Right.
Where this one stays put, and it is so dang strong.
There's one thing you said that I wanted to just touch on briefly, is the physics of this hammer striker.
Yeah.
So the way this knife is built is it has a crossbar lock. So to get this knife to fold, you would need to have a piece of steel that is wedged in between the blade that prevents it from closing completely fail. And that's why these are so strong. But this is where the real magic comes in, because this is done with posts all the way through the G10 material, the liners, and then this big piece of steel, looks like this, is screwed in. And so when you hit this with a hammer, it transfers all the force, not into the lock, but from the striker into the liners, into the blade. So you're taking that force straight to the blade, which is what makes this knife so durable, so strong, and so incredible. But you're also not hitting the handle material.
Yeah, no,
This
the
keeps-
G10 doesn't come in contact with your striker, mallet, hammer, whatever at all. I was down in Texas a few weeks ago and I needed to hog out a mortise real quick. The only hammer laying around was a framing hammer, and I was beating on the back of this thing and the knife still functioned beautifully. Closed, nothing was wrong with it. I mean, it is solid. Now, I could sit here and I could tell you all the different ways that you can use this awesome chisel knife, but if you've used a chisel before, you know all the different ways that you can use it, because I'm telling you, you can use it exactly the same way that you can use a regular chisel. But it's also a knife, which means that on top of all the ways you can use a regular chisel, well, there's a bunch of other ways you can use it as well. Here's just a few.
Oh, hi little fella.
It says here to make a slight incision between the two fang marks.
It says what? Man, these pills are really soft. What are those? Down? Polyfill? I don't know. Oh, it's like a cotton stuff.
Hear me.
You cannot tell that's rattlesnake.
That's delicious.
I don't know, man. You sure about this?
Don't worry, man. I got this. Jonathan, again, a huge thanks. I mean, I could not have done this without you. A big thanks to Mikkel for all of his design work on this. I mean, that guy is fantastic. And a huge thanks to you guys. I mean, the fact that we have the opportunity to spend time developing products that we know you guys are going to love is just, it means so much. So a big thanks for your support. If you guys want to get the Bourbon Blade, which I know you will love, there's a link in the video description, or you can just go to my website, bourbonmoth.com. Jonathan's going to be selling it on his website too. Pre-sales are open now. You will get this thing in your hands in...
I think the first batch will be here in about 4 to 5 weeks, and then the following batch will be about 8 to 12 weeks behind that. So get in now. You know, you want to get in the first batch if you can, but we're going to ship them out from the KM Tools warehouse here as soon as they come in, along with anything else you get from Jason or my website. So.
Well, and that's the thing. This is our first product, and there's always the question of like, how many of these do you order? So we didn't order an unlimited amount, so you're not going to want to wait. Click the link down in the video description, get yourself one, and start sending us pictures of how you guys are using this, because we're really excited to see it out there, and we know you're going to love it.
What hashtag should they use?
Hashtag Bourbon Blade.
Thank you guys, and thank you for working on me with this, Jason. This was an absolute blast. It was a great journey.
I love this guy.
Wait, maybe not.
Yeah, please don't stab me.
Okay. If you want to know more about all the inner workings inside this knife, exactly why we built it the way we built it, and all of our design choices, well, Jonathan put out a fantastic video over on his channel, and it goes deep. So head over there via the link in the video description or just go to his YouTube page and find out why we think this is going to be your favorite everyday carry in the woodshop. Developing a new product can be difficult. I mean, this thing took us over 2 years between design and manufacturing. In fact, one of the easiest parts of launching a new product is getting it listed to our website because we use Squarespace. But once it's on our website, the big question was, how do we let people know that it's there? The cool thing about Squarespace is they allow us to give you the option to sign up for our newsletter at checkout, so doing an email campaign and letting everybody know about the new product was pretty darn simple. So once everybody started coming to our website, well, we wanted to make sure that this was front and center. But again, with Squarespace's easy to edit templates, that was super simple. We just did a few clicks, dragged these things down here, inserted a new photo, and boom. Now the Bourbon blade is front and center, and it'll be the first thing people see when they come to our website. But when people started coming to our website, well, we wanted to make sure they ended up at the right place, because while our website's BOURBONMOTH.com, this thing's called the Bourbon blade. But we were able to purchase other domains and link them to our website. So if you go to BOURBONMOTH.com, you'll find the Bourbon blade. If you go to BOURBONBLADE.com, you'll find the Bourbon blade. So if you're trying to launch a product or you just want a sweet looking website, go to squarespace.com/BOURBONMOTHWOODWORKIng. Sign up and you're gonna get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain when you use coupon code BOURBONMOTHWOODWORKIng. Huge thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video and making it that much easier to launch a new product.